Bry's Comics.
Before we hop into today's video, I wanted to give a little update on Something Is Killing the Children, number 21. We are sold out of the 1 in 100 packs. At the time of filming this, I'm filming this way in advance, there's only a couple of the 1 in 50 packs left, and then we have some of the 1 in 25 packs. The Zoo or Zoo exclusive is well past 50% sold out within the first 24 hours. I'm blown away once again by the response to this exclusive, but on the other hand, not really surprised because it's one of the hottest artists in the industry on one of the hottest titles in the industry. And since I released this thing, they sent the ash can for issue number 21, which I believe is the whole issue of issue number 21. And man, does this issue have some things in store for us. So I wanted to read the blurb from James Tynion's newsletter that he has to say about Something's Killing the Children 21. So James says, "This is the perfect jumping on point for new readers who want a taste of what Something Is Killing the Children is. We haven't seen the adult Erica Slaughter since we dropped issue 15 early last year, and I've talked a bit before about how I view the first 15 issues as the first Erica Slaughter novel. This is the first chapter of the second Erica Slaughter novel. It's got a new city, it's got a new cast of small town folks up against something horrific they absolutely do not understand. It's got a new monster. Erica is navigating a new relationship with the House of Slaughter, and this arc is going to introduce a new enemy for Erica, who Werther, Miguel, and I are desperate for you to meet. Welcome to Tribulation, New Mexico. I hope you survive the experience." And man, I got chills just reading that. I got chills reading the actual ash can for issue number 21. And if I had to guess, I would say that when the show comes out, maybe the first season will be Archer's Peak. The first arc of Something Is Killing the Children, issues 1 through 15, was Archer's Peak. And then issues 16 through 20, we got kind of the backstory and origin of Erica. Maybe they incorporate that somehow into the show. But then my guess would be if they go to subsequent seasons, they probably would start with Tribulation, New Mexico. Like, it's a new season, a new city, new monsters, new town folks, and all that. It makes perfect sense. And that's how they could keep this thing going, is just keep going to new towns, new situations, new monsters. Potentially, a lot of people have asked, is there any actual spec potential behind issue number 21? And I mean, we're getting a whole bunch of first appearances. We're getting a new monster, which is terrifying. So yeah, I would say that yes, there is spec potential behind this issue. So once again, thank you so much to everyone for the support so far. And pre-sales are live now at brycecomics.com. 10,000 subscribers. You guys, I am blown away. I am humbled. I am grateful. I cannot believe that we made it to this milestone. And to show my appreciation, I'm going to have a special giveaway. This is above and beyond the normal giveaways on my channel. I do a monthly giveaway on the YouTube channel here for a slab, and a monthly giveaway on my newsletter at brycecomics.com. If you sign up for that newsletter, you're entered to win a free slab every single month. But this is above and beyond that. We're going to give away 3 slabs and some swag. So first up is Amazing Spider-Man 55, the Patrick Gleason cover that started it all. It's a first print, and it's going to come with the matching t-shirt. This is a large. That's all I have. The next slab for the giveaway is Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, number 1, the Virgin edition, the Patrick Gleason exclusive. And last but not least is Nice House on the Lake, number 1, cover A. And the Nice House on the Lake is going to come with this Bry's Comics hat. So all you have to do to enter the giveaway is be subscribed to the channel, comment on this video, and like this video. And this is the only video that we're going to do for the 10K. I'll let it run for a couple weeks, maybe a week, and draw the winners. So I thought this would also be a good time to do the origin story of Bry's Comics, because a lot of people have asked about more details about my business, how I got started, and things like that. So, and I thought I'd break it down, just tell the story, and then draw from it the top 3 lessons that I've learned so far overall with this whole venture, and break it down into 3 digestible lessons. So it all started with the birth of my son, Lucas, who's now almost 4 years old. He'll be 4 in May. And I went on paternity leave. And when I was on paternity leave, I had just recently finished college online. I got a degree in business management. I was on paternity leave from, an hourly wage job. I was a wage slave, and I never liked the idea of trading my time for money. It never sat well with me, and I always wanted to start a business. I just didn't know what to start selling. I had all these tools now because I have this degree in business management, how to sell, how to run a business, but I didn't know what business to do, and it was a real obstacle. I mean, for years, I just, even while I was going through school, just figuring out what business am I going to do? Is it going to be a tree trimming service? Is it going to be a landscaping company? Is it going to be a comic book shop? I had no idea of where to start. And then I'm on paternity leave and I'm watching the 40-year-old virgin, and she has that store, the We Sell Your Stuff on eBay store, where she literally just sells other people's stuff on eBay and takes a cut, and the guy walks into the store and he's like, I'd like to buy this. And she's like, well, you can't, you have to buy it on eBay. I was like, that's it. That's exactly what I can do. I've been buying and selling on eBay for a long time. I know the ins and outs. I know this community. I grew up here. So I started buying and selling stuff on eBay and selling other people's stuff on eBay and just taking a percentage. And while I was on paternity leave, and I was making more money than I was in my actual 9-to-5. And so that was all I need. I was like, that's it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to really focus in on this. I'm going to lean into it and make this my job. I put in my notice. I didn't go back to work, and things were going great. I built a little shop on my property with my dad, just a place to store inventory, take photos, ship, and do all that. And everything was going great. And then in 2018, a wildfire hit in Paradise, California. It was one of the most devastating wildfires ever, at least in terms of like financial losses. Something like 18,000 structures were destroyed and almost 100 people lost their lives. Absolutely tragic. And it just leveled the town. It took my house, it took my shop, all of the shop that I built with my dad. There was custom furniture that me and my dad built inside the house, a little bridge that we built over a creek in the backyard. I mean, all really sentimental stuff that I'll never be able to get back because my dad moved to Hawaii and he sold all his woodworking equipment. So it's like it's just a loss. I wanted to add that we were actually really well taken care of after the fire. We had insurance on our house, and the insurance treated us really well because the insurance was treated really well. And that's because PG&E was found at fault for the fire. It was completely avoidable, completely unnecessary disaster. It was, I think, a 100-year-old piece of equipment that was found to cause the fire that, was documented in their books that there was all of this equipment, not just the piece that actually failed and caused the fire that took my house in business, but all kinds of equipment along their line that is past due, that's been, neglected to be upkept. And it's this whole controversy around PG&E. PG&E is Pacific Gas and Electric Company. It's the gas and electric company here where I live. The crazy thing about it is that they even sent us text messages and emails the day before the fire and said, there's a huge weather system coming in. It's a warning. We might shut off your power because the wind might be so strong that it might blow down our equipment and cause a fire. And then they didn't shut it off. So it was completely avoidable, 100% malfeasance and negligence on the part of PG&E. And so there's a whole lawsuit regarding it. In addition to the insurance money, about half of the people in the lawsuit have gotten their determinations yet, and then about half of the people have not. We are part of the people that have not got our determinations. And I was actually going to wait to do this video until we got our PG&E settlement because that's when I think the next chapter in Bryce Comics is going to start. It's depending on, what happens with that settlement. We may move to another town. It might be the start of yet another chapter, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon. So I figured this is as good a time as any to do the origin story. We were displaced. We ended up in Nevada City, Grass Valley, and I, really didn't know what to do at this point because my business was essentially completely dead because I was 100% reliant upon the local community that I grew up in and knew, and now we were completely displaced, and I did not feel comfortable starting the same business in a different county. So I got another 9-to-5. This time it was as a manager for the marketing and technology department for a post-secondary education, a college, a big business, and it was great. It was a really good job because I learned a ton more than I did in business school about management and marketing and technology, just hands-on experience doing it. But every day that I'm doing it, I'm growing this business for this other person's company who I actually really admired. I'm going, what am I doing? Like, I need to do this for me. And so that's when I started comically correct comics. And I started really leaning into the comic book aspect of it and just learning, all the ins and outs, what possible ways could I make money flipping comics, and really scaling it up. But I didn't quit that job until I was making enough money at the comically correct thing to support the family or pay the bills or whatever. And so it was about a year. It was about a year where, just investing into the business. And I kind of expected that going into business, that the first year is going to be a loss. It was a loss. It was just putting money in to set up these things that eventually would pay off and get the ball rolling. And so it took about a year to get to that point. And then at that point, when it was successful enough to pay the bills, I put in my notice for the marketing and technology job. And at that point, they offered me something like twice as much money. Is there anything we can do to get you to stay? We're going to give you this huge promotion and double your pay. And it was the worst thing that they could have said to me, because it was like, it really made me stop and think. And it's like, do I put the brakes on my dream and just go for this safe option? And I'm so glad that I didn't do that, because there was still, even with twice as much pay and responsibility, there's still this ceiling that is really low. And when I looked over here at my business venture, the ceiling, there was no ceiling. There's no limit to the growth and potential of my own business. The only thing that limits it is my time and energy that I can put into it. And I said at that point, I'm going to have to refuse. I'm going to do my own thing. And I jumped in full-fledged. And that's when Bryce Comics was born. So backtrack a little bit. Before that decision happened, we sold our house in Grass Valley and bought a fifth wheel trailer, a really fancy fifth wheel, to travel the country and try to figure out where we wanted to live. We still didn't feel like we were quite home. We still felt displaced. And we traveled, and my wife and I, continued to work from the road, from the trailer. We would just stop at RV parks, work for a few days, and then check out the area, and then move to the next area, work for a few days, and then check out the area. And we just never found a place that felt like home that we wanted to move to. So we brought the fifth wheel back to Paradise, California, back to our burned lot. And at this point, it was a couple years later, things have started to grow back. The community is bouncing back a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. We had power, water, and fiber internet installed at our lot. So we were comfortable in the fifth wheel on our lot. And that's when I started Comically Correct Comics. It's some of you that have been with me from the beginning, my channel was originally called Comically Correct Comics, and I would tape a green screen to the side of my fifth wheel trailer with shipping tape. Every single time I did a video, I tape up the green screen. You could see the background like flopping in the wind. You got sun in my eyes. You got wind going. I've got this rickety microphone on a rickety table. I mean, it was awful. Every time I did a video, I'd tape up the screen, take it down, tape up the screen, take it down. I did it twice a week, 2 videos a week consistently for like the first year. And then we moved into a house. We sold the trailer, got the house here in Paradise, and then I had this room built. But originally it was just an empty shed with like 2x4s and stuff showing. And again, I was taping up the green screen. And I'll get back to that in a minute on why I think that was an important step that I made. Even though it wasn't the perfect setup, I think it was one of the most important things I did for my business. So now I'm working out of this room that I'm in now, and I'm doing everything by myself. The purchasing, the shipping, the selling, the listing, the videos, the editing, every single aspect, the accounting, the financing, every single aspect of the business I was doing myself, and I was completely maxed out, putting in way too many hours. And one day I got a shipment from CGC, and this room was just full of slabs. I couldn't even like walk around in here. I said, this is too much. I got to bite the bullet and get an office space. And at the time, I was really nervous to do that because I didn't think I was quite ready. I didn't think I had quite enough work to where I can hire somebody else to help me out. Like I was maxed out, but I didn't think I had enough for someone else to do, but I was out of space and I had to do it. So I bit the bullet, found an office space, hired somebody full-time. And, I was really glad that I did. It was one of the best things that I did because I can finally breathe in here. It freed up my schedule enough to where I was less stressed out, and happened to fall, everything fell into place, and I was able to financially handle it. And so that brings us to where we are today. I mean, really, all in all, it's been like a really short journey so far. And I feel like I am just at the beginning stages of this thing. I feel like I have so much to learn about every aspect, about running a business, about YouTube, about comic books. I mean, every single aspect of this thing, I have tons of room to grow and things to learn. So by no stretch of the imagination do I feel like I've arrived or like I have all of this knowledge to bestow on people. I'm just, want to share my experience so far and what's worked for me. And so the three biggest lessons that I've learned, number one is the 80-20 principle. Okay. And the 80-20 principle is also known as Pareto's law or the 80-20 law. Sometimes it's called the 90-10 or the 95-5. And I got this from a book that I read called The 4-Hour Workweek. And I cannot recommend this book enough. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I read 2 pages of this book and I am bursting with inspiration. I mean, I have gotten so much logical, actionable recommendations and advice from this book. Like I can't even get more than half a chapter, a full chapter into it, where I'm writing stuff down and I'm like actually needing to go do some of this stuff. Fantastic book. And what the most important principle that I've got out of there is the 80-20 principle. And the 80-20 principle states that 80% of your consequences come from 20% of your causes. Okay, so 80% of your success comes from 20% of your effort. And it applies to everything. It's not just business, but in business, 80% of your sales come from 20% of your customers. It applies to all different aspects of life. In nature, 80% of the flowers come from 20% of the seeds that were dispersed. In the healthcare system, 80% of the resources for healthcare are accounted for by 20% of the patients. I mean, this thing goes deep into like every aspect of life. And I was blown away by this principle. And I thought, man, this is something I really need to focus on. Like what 20% of my actions in my business are accounting for 80% of my results. And it became so clear the things that like were time wasters were just sucking away from your productivity. And it became clear that when situations or emails or stuff would arise, and I would look at it and say, is this part of the 20% of things that are making me successful, or is this part of the 80% of my time that is just a complete waste? And if you focus in on that 20% and really hone in and get really good at saying no to the time wasters, your productivity, your efficiency, everything just goes up and up and up, and you start to get really efficient. So that's the first thing, most important principle that I've used to help grow my business. The second thing comes from another book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. So if there was 2 books that I had to recommend, it would be these 2. And The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, the most important principle from that, in my opinion, is begin with the end in mind. Okay, so play the tape through. When you start something, think about where you want to be when it ends. And I wish I would have done this a little bit more with my YouTube channel, because with YouTube, I didn't really begin with the end in mind. I just started. Because I think if I really would have harnessed that, I would have been even more efficient and successful in everything that I did. So I wanted to elaborate a little bit on the whole begin with the end in mind thing, because I don't want to sound like I contradict myself on saying like begin with the end in mind, but with a YouTube channel, I just started and had no idea where I wanted to go. There's been a lot of things that I did begin with the end in mind. For example, like the editing software. When I started this, I could have started it on some way less robust editing software, something that was enough for my needs at the time, but I knew where I wanted to be and I knew where I wanted to go. So early on, I decided I'm gonna bite the bullet and learn how to edit videos that are way more than I need at this time, because eventually I'm going to need those skills. Another example is the website. When I got my website, it was way more robust than anything I needed, even though it's super affordable. It's Shopify, very affordable. It's like 80 bucks a month, and then it was only a couple $100 to have somebody set it up. But there's all these features and stuff that I didn't need, right? And so it was like, well, why should I do that? I could just get this cheaper version of the website. But I thought about where I wanted to be in a year and what I wanted to be able to do. And so started with that, because otherwise I would have had to transfer to a new website and it would have been a complete mess. Another example is the office space that I rented. At the time, it was way bigger than I needed. I felt so crazy renting this huge office space that was just all empty space in the beginning. And I'm like, what am I gonna do to fill this? But I thought about where I wanted to be, and God, it filled up really quick. So it would have been a complete waste of time to start with something smaller that was good for my needs at the time, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. So that's kind of some examples of how I use begin with the end in mind. Leads into the third lesson, which is the most important thing to do when starting something new is to start. Okay. The biggest obstacle that people don't get past is actually starting. And so I'm really glad that I did just start the YouTube channel when I'm taping up that green screen, when I have the rickety microphone, when I didn't even know what I could possibly offer the comic book community. I had no idea. I just started this channel, and it grew into finding my voice, finding the angle that I wanted to take. But the most important thing to do is to start, because if I would have waited until I had this room built, until I had a studio, until I had a better microphone, until I had, everything was lined up correctly, I would have been a year and a half behind where I am today. So that's basically it, guys. That's basically it. Like I said, it's a short story because we're just getting started. And I'm so grateful once again to all of you. Thank you so much. Don't forget to leave a comment down below to enter yourself to win those 3 slabs, and head over to brycecomics.com and sign up for that newsletter, and you're entered to win another slab. Once again, I really appreciate you guys. I can't wait to see where this thing is going. I can't wait to learn and grow more and do another one of these videos in a couple years where I actually have, something more valuable to say. I hope that was like somewhat inspirational or motivating or helpful to some of you in some way, because that's really the whole point of me doing this video. Is I was just hoping maybe somebody could be encouraged by this. This channel is all about comic book investment and speculation and tips and tricks on how to have the hobby fund itself. And so on a weekly and on a daily basis, we get into more of these details about how to flip comics, how to have this hobby fund itself. But this is kind of more just a big picture video that I hope was helpful to someone. Once again, thank you so much, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.
Bryce Comics.